Face ID, it's still working great. Hello guys, how are you? David DeFranco here from daviddefran.co. That's always linked right below. Check it out, I appreciate it. So today's video is all about my impressions of the iPhone X 2 months later. And I think that's a big deal because, well, let's face it, when you're unboxing a new phone, you're kind of biased in a sense in saying that, wow, this is the best phone ever. I'm so excited. This phone is just perfect in my eyes. But after 2 months of using it, I think you have more realistic impressions of whether the phone upgrade was worth it or not. So let's talk about it. These are my thoughts on the iPhone X 2 months later. First up, let's talk about the design. I have no doubt in saying this. This is the best looking and best feeling for that matter iPhone to ever exist. I mean, it's just an all glass design. It feels amazing in the hand, and it definitely feels like it was worth the $1,000. Now, $1,000 is a lot of money for a phone, but you know what? Me being the Apple fanatic I am, I do not regret my purchase one bit. Now let's talk about the notch, because I think most people seem to focus on the notch. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Well, honestly, it comes down to your opinion. I mean, I'm not gonna have the same opinion as you, and you're not gonna have the same opinion as the next person because it comes down to your usage. Well, I'm happy to say this, the notch, it really doesn't bother me at all. I mean, if anything, it's unique and it makes the iPhone stand out from the competition. Now, does it get in the way? Not really, for the most part. Okay, so unfortunately, there are many apps out there that are still not optimized to take advantage of the notch, and while in my opinion, that's just laziness. Developers, what are you doing? Get on that, fix your apps, and just make your apps look beautiful, because the iPhone X, it's just a great phone. So yeah, why wouldn't you want your app to be optimized for the iPhone X? Make it happen. However, with that said, there is one major concern that I have regarding the iPhone X's notch. That's the fact that you can only see so much information here in the top right. By default, Apple shows you your data strength, which in my opinion in 2018, you don't necessarily need to see. I mean, there are very few instances where I don't have data. And if I don't have data, just alert me in another way. You don't need to be taking up space up there. And then of course we also have Wi-Fi and your battery life. But even then, you don't see your entire battery life. Unfortunately, you have to swipe down to Control Center to see your battery life. And that's something I definitely miss very much about my iPhone 7 Plus. Is the fact that the battery used to be up there at all times, but now you have to swipe down. And that's definitely unfortunate. So Apple, request from a fellow Apple fan, who gives you literally thousands of dollars every year. Give us the choice to show us what we want up there in the status bar. I think it could go a long way. Okay, let's talk about Face ID, because it's obviously one of the most important features about the iPhone X, because, well, let's face it, Apple took away Touch ID, something we Apple users have been used to for years now. And boom, just like that, it no longer exists, at least on the iPhone X. Okay, so granted, if you want Touch ID, it's still there on the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 7, and blah, 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 goes on. So yeah, with that said, if you buy the iPhone X, obviously, you know what you're getting yourself into. However, I gotta say this, I don't really miss Touch ID all that much, because for the most part, Face ID, it works just fine. Now, is it faster than Touch ID? No. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I am here to tell you this today. Face ID is definitely not faster than Touch ID. I can say that with confidence. However, the conveniences of Face ID easily, just outright outweigh Touch ID. Let me give you two examples. Number one, wet hands. Now, as weird as that sounds, I often like to have my phone by my side while washing dishes. And well, in the past, with my iPhone 7 Plus, I would go to unlock it and my thumb is wet, and boom, I couldn't unlock it. Now I simply tap the screen, I look at it, and it unlocks. I love that. Example number two, very cold hands. No longer do you have to worry about wearing gloves that work with phones, because, well, like I said, lift up your phone, look at the screen, boom, it unlocks. That's huge. So let's talk about the display. With each iPhone iteration, we typically get better display technology, whether it's going from non-retina to retina, which is huge, better color gamma display, so on and so forth. That's typically how it works, whether it's with Samsung, Apple, LG, whoever. But with the iPhone X, I am extremely happy to say that Apple is finally on board with OLED. Now yes, it took them several years, but then again, Apple's not the kind of company who brags about being first. Feel free to argue with me about that, but I'm right when I say that, guys. Apple rarely says they're first. They may act like they're first, but they never say they're first. So, OLED on the iPhone, I'm just so happy to say, looks beautiful. Using this phone in the dark, you really do see the rich blacks, and thankfully, those rich blacks blend in almost seamlessly with the notch on the iPhone 10. So over time, you just forget the notch is even there. Now, there is a slight blue tint when tilting the phone left and right, and you can kind of see it on occasion, but I gotta say, it's nothing compared to the blue tint on the Pixel 2 XL. That was a good phone overall, but that blue tint definitely let me down big time. But thankfully on the iPhone 10, it's almost non-existent. Now in terms of the overall display quality, yeah, it looks great. It's obviously the best looking display on any iPhone to ever exist, but does it match up to something like the Samsung Galaxy Note 8? Unfortunately, no. That is the best looking display I've ever seen on any phone ever. That display just blew my mind. But does it still look kick-ass? Of course it does. I mean, guys, come on. If you're an iPhone user, you're likely going to see the difference and just appreciate what you have in your hand. However, Galaxy Note 8, you still win. Wireless charging, let's talk about it. Now, it's important to say this, wireless charging is not exclusive to the iPhone 10. It's also available on the iPhone 8. So, if you want wireless charging, you don't necessarily have to drop $1,000. So, yeah, there's that. At least Apple gives you the choice between two different wireless charging iPhones. However, I gotta say this, guys, wireless charging, as of today, is just not important to me. And to prove that, I have yet to use wireless charging on my iPhone 10 once. It's just not that important. But that could easily change with AirPower, which is coming at some point this year. So hopefully when AirPower comes out, I can charge my iPhone 10, my Apple Watch, and my AirPods all at the same time. That could be a game changer with me, but until then, I'm perfectly okay with plugging in a lightning cable. Let's talk about portrait lighting mode for a moment. Yeah, it's not that important to probably most people, but to me, someone who cares about photography and design and art and just presentation in general, portrait lighting mode, in my opinion, is amazing, and it's definitely one of those features you'll look forward to when buying either the iPhone 8 or the iPhone 10. Portrait lighting mode on the iPhone 10 is not exclusive to the iPhone 10. You can also get it on the iPhone 8, which is definitely a plus for iPhone users. And finally, I cannot talk about the iPhone 10 and my first impressions, at least within the past 2 months, without mentioning Animoji. Yes, Animoji does work exactly as advertised. Do I use it obsessively? No. But I gotta say, when I do use it, the technology blows my mind. It's just, you know what? Let's just say this. It's scary accurate. I mean, Apple has definitely done their homework with the True Depth camera, and it just blows my mind. And while honestly, this is just the beginning, so I cannot wait to see what Apple and third-party developers continue to do with this kind of technology. This is just the beginning, mark my words. So guys, there you have it. Those are my impressions on the iPhone 10. It is easily my favorite iPhone ever. Is it perfect? Of course not. But what phone is? But is this much better than the iPhone 7 Plus? Hell yes. So guys, thank you so much for watching. What are your thoughts on the iPhone 10? Let me know right below. And don't you dare call it the iPhone X. I'll see you next time. Peace.